This one's a tough one. I ain't gonna lie about it. And I know that because I've seen it from both sides. I had parents, and I've been a parent. Or still am, I guess, technically. They're both still alive. It's difficult. We're gonna get into it a little bit. Might as well get on with it. I have never before, of course, I've never before been that observant of it, but now that I am, never before have I seen such a cacophony is a better word, of these 70s and 80s parents, or no, yeah, parents and kids, or they were kids at one time, coming out and saying, we had the coolest cars, we had the coolest music, we had the coolest chicks, and my grandma was wearing hot pants and smoking cigarettes and listening to the Black Sabbath and stuff. Where did that get us? What kind of offspring did you raise? Firstly, it wasn't because you did anything awesome, unless you were the creator of the music. I mean, I guess you bought the car, okay, but you didn't produce it, chances are. You just happened to be born at the right time in history. You don't get any credit for that. I mean, it's like having big boobs. You just won a genetic lottery of sorts. You didn't do anything for that, but that's a whole other topic. Seriously, though, but this business of parenting then, okay, my mom was the coolest chick. Was she? Was she a good mom? Because the two don't often go hand in hand. In fact, quite the opposite. Sometime along the way, I don't know, it's 1994, let's say, it became a thing to be a helicopter parent. They just didn't have the terms for it, but you saw it in the playgrounds if you were paying attention. The old dilapidated playgrounds with the rusty equipment and the rotted boards and stuff, and we can't have that. Our babies are out there. First of all, your babies aren't, a baby is a baby. That's an infant. If the kid's 3 years old, you don't have a baby anymore. You have a toddler. This business of my babies, they've changed the terminology, see. I don't dig it. And it hasn't been healthy. You can look around society and see that as fact. But it happened in the playgrounds first, or that's when I first noticed it. So they tore out all the old stuff because it was unsafe. How many kids died on the playgrounds? Couldn't have been many. I mean, somebody fell out of a swing and cracked their head and, they were a vegetable or they died. I get it. Accidents happen. I understand that. How many of them actually died? So they replaced all the wood structures with treated lumber. Well, that's got arsenic in it, or had. What was the other one? Strychnine, I think, something like. These are poison toxins. It's got to be poison enough where the bugs won't eat it and aren't attracted to it. Well, that was the first mistake. So now you got your babies crawling around on poison lumber. How good is that for them? Then we had to spread some wood chips, because if they fell, maybe get a wood chip in the eye. But never mind that. You have a whole bunch of people in life making decisions, and they have no idea what they're doing, is what it amounts to. But these helicopter parents, before the term existed, always protecting baby, always got to be, we got to have little plastic plug-ins to put in the outlets, the receptacles, so they don't stick their tongue in there or something. Those things didn't exist. So you're not teaching the child. You're putting bubble wrap around the whole universe, trying to keep that child safe. What does that do for their decision-making ability? Pretty soon you've got a kid that's been so insulated from the actual real life, I don't much care for the term, but that's what it is, real life world, that they're woefully unprepared to actually enter said world. The trouble with that is, then they get out into that world and have to make it without all the bubble wrap. So then it comes to find out that helicopter parents make for boomerang kids. And by boomerang kids, I mean kids that go out and try to make it, and hey, this is difficult. I wasn't prepared for hardly any of this stuff. I got to move back home. There isn't anything necessarily wrong with coming back home. You've kind of gotten a taste of it, and you kind of, whoa. I got to get it together here pretty quick. It's sink or swim, and I'm sinking, man. I got to have, and usually, generally, you reach out to mom or dad or hopefully both. Yeah, come on back, because they understand how it is. It's tough getting started. I talked about that on the last video. Not going to provide a link. And so, yeah, come on back, get on your feet, and we understand. Nothing wrong with that. Provided that they're actually spending that time getting on their feet. If that's just an excuse to, now I don't have bills, I just go out to the clubs and this and that and the other. What we're also simultaneously finding out in this country is that kids can't afford houses. There are no starter houses. And coupled with that, their expectations are way too high. And so they have to live at home. And I guess there's no problem with that. If you are willing to help out as the kid, the offspring, help mom and dad out, bring home some groceries once in a while, maybe chip in for some rent. I mean, there's a cost to providing you shelter. I don't see nothing wrong with that as long as you're getting along together. But you ought to be stocking that cash away, man. There's your golden opportunity right there. Piling it up best you can. And help out. Don't be a dang hindrance. Don't leave clothes laying all around. And just not lifting a finger to do anything. Now the other side of that. He just sits on his phone all day. Who bought the phone? Now we're going back to especially adolescence, childhood / adolescence, teen years, especially. There's almost always a conflict with the teens. Because they're kind of getting a mind of their own to do what they want to do. That's fine. You're getting ready to need that. But somebody has to be in charge. The inmates cannot run the asylum. I don't know. He just wants to sit on his phone all day. Who bought the phone? Who pays for it? Who is in charge? The infant? The baby? Oh, my babies. Well, your baby is remaining infantile in the mind. That ain't going to cut it. It's not possible to physically go out onto their own, having been a baby for 20 years, and now they're going to be an adult? It isn't going to work. I see now recently California, in their infinite wisdom, has passed a law that by, June of 2024, kids will no longer be suspended for listening to the teacher, for refusal to listen to a teacher, insubordination, whatever. I hate public schools. I hated them when I had to go to them. I hate them now. The whole system is broken. It can't be done on the scale that it originated from. We need to do away with the whole system. But that aside, the inmates can't run the asylum. So now you've taken away the leverage of, kicking the kid out of school. It's against the law, or shortly will be. Well, that should help things. Once again, you have people making decisions who have no idea what they're doing, or worse yet, they do. Again, that's another topic. Now we're going to get back to the other side of it, and that's being a parent. Oh, parenting is the hardest job in the world. That's spoken by people who've never had a truly difficult job in their lives, primarily. Especially these days with all the modern community, they have baby gates. You just put them over and baby can't go in there anymore. You don't have to physically watch your kid. Solves nothing. But that aside, I've put a lot of stuff aside. Anyway, it's not the hardest job in the world. It could be argued that is one of the most important jobs if it's done correctly, or even if it isn't. Did your parents do the absolute best that they could? No. And I know that because I'm a parent, and I can honestly say that. Day in, day out, night and day and night, did they do the absolute best that they could? No. It's not possible. 24/7, 365. Did they do the best that they could on that day for how they were doing? Hopefully, yes. That's kind of where I put myself in that picture. On that given day, the best I could do was X or Y. what I'm seeing a lot is that mom and dad are on the gadget, and the once in a blue moon where they kind of, where'd the kids go? It's awful quiet. Oh, they're kindling a fire in the back bedroom. How could you do this? Oh, they learned it off of YouTube. And all. Why does a 7-year-old have a phone? Well, because my employer, bought new phones and they don't want the old ones back. So I just started up a plan for Junior. There's all kinds of things the kids don't need to see. And the argument is had all the time, well, they're going to see it eventually. Yes, they are. When their mind is a little more ready for that kind of stuff. The time for that's not at 6. They don't need to be seeing nudity at 6 years old or adult intercourse or whatever other. Just, it's out of control. Point being, who gave them the phone and who provides it for them? How'd they learn to build a fire in the back bedroom? You showed them, albeit indirectly. You allowed it. Mom and dad are on the phone. They ain't got time for raising kids, and they probably shouldn't have ever had them. An excellent book on raising kids? Have no idea, because most of them are crap. They want to dance this line about how you should make your child a friend. Your kids are not your friends. Now, after they leave the house and they become grown adults, there can be a friendship type arrangement there. While they're under your roof, as babies, infant, toddler, comes after toddler, the growing years, and then adolescence, they're not your friends. In theory, you're the adult. You know better because you've lived it and you've seen it out. So when I say X, that means X for a reason. I tried my best, and I hope I did a good job explaining myself, not this crap of, because I said so. That doesn't answer anybody's question, but explaining, here's why. And here's what could happen. And it probably won't, maybe, but it could. Why put yourself in stupid, explain things out. That's what I set out really to do as a parent, which you should be, because that prepares a young mind for what's waiting for them. I couldn't stand the phrase, when you get out in the real world, when I was young. You'll find out when you get out in the real world. Why don't you bring the real world, you're so fond of saying, why don't you bring that to me piece by piece? Let me get used to the idea. That's your job, is to train me to be a successful adult. Not just sit and lecture or wait till things go haywire and then bitch about it. There has never been a more piss poor job of parenting, overall, generally speaking, than there is right now. And it's showing up. Well, these kids don't want to work these days. Who raised them? Who trained them to be like that? Who gave them an allowance just simply for existing? That's like winning the genetic lottery. It's the same thing. Just for existing. You're going to give them an allowance? No. You're doing it wrong. I'm sorry, but I'm not. Because you're doing it wrong. And just take a look around. You can see the results for themselves. I'm not big on the parenting books. There is one, Pearl. No, that ain't right. There is one really good book, a very short book. It's called To Train Up a Child. I wish I could give you the author. Can't. I'll look it up. I will put that in the description below. It's a very small book. Somewhat of a religious bend. But it's just basically about consistency and setting limitations, and that young children want to know, where's the wall? Where can't we cross? And if you set that at the proper place early on and are consistent with it, you don't seldom have to deal with a kid that crossed the wall, crossed the border. And how to deal with your emotions as an adult when the kid does go off the rails a little bit. That one's a pretty good book. Other than that, these giant arms, there's hundreds of them, probably thousands, and they're crap. Well, psychological studies have shown, with a government grant, just so happens you get paid to continuously study, so you never come up with a finite answer. And most of those people's kids suck as adults. That right there tells me what kind of a job they've done. I wasn't perfect at it. I did make it a very, very high priority in my life, as any parent should. I never quite know how to react if somebody says, well, you did a good job raising those kids. I mean, thanks. But that was what I was supposed to do. That was my job. And if I did that well and like I should have, well, that's kind of the like minimum requirements is the way I viewed it. So thanks, but I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments or put your 2 cents worth in there if you feel so inclined. I appreciate you watching. Thanks, I'll see you next time.